Hello everyone. Good morning or good evening.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Hi. So how are you people? How was your weekend? So long weekend, right? So how's the progress like on our Linux modules? Any other questions? Did you get a chance to practice?
Yes, I practiced.
Okay.
Yes, all good.
All right. So let's move on to the next topic today. And so we are on day 5. It's 3rd Feb. All right. Yeah. So in our last session, we were able to work on the file as well as package management stuff, right? So we have seen how to manage the packages, I mean on Linux machines, what are different types of packages we can have, how to install and configure in the various Ubuntu based machines, and also some of the actions like install, update, or uninstall the packages, how to start and handle the services, right? And also related to file management, we have seen how to prepare the directories to manage the files. What are all the commands to get the details of that files, and how we can able to navigate from one folder to another folder, right? And what are the various methods to create the files, how to access the data using VA editor, and how to handle the VA editor, right? How to go to insert mode, save and exit, or exit without saving the changes, right? So all these things are part of your file management. Today we'll continue with the file management because we have to learn a few more things on which we use on day-to-day basis, and then we'll move on to the next topic related to user management, access management, right? So it's an agenda for today's session. If time permits, we'll start with our remote server management as well, right? So we are just going as per this list, and today we'll continue with our file management. Okay. So now, once you have the file, right, what are the other activities we can perform there? You can able to insert some records, and you guys are aware of deployment, right? What is a deployment basically? What we call as deployment.
Any
In
new
general.
changes to be install or add?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So yeah, it is not just about new changes. It is also a process of making the new changes available in the target environment, right? So when we create any file, like the directories, whatever we have prepared, or the files, whatever we prepared, there are some file or file system related operations. Like we can able to create it, we can able to update or delete. Great. The file, whatever we created, I'm talking about the file or the folders, files or directories. So whatever it is, either you can able to create, update, delete. Updating means updating the records from the file, and deleting means deleting the entire file with all the records, and we'll be renaming the file or the folder. That is also possible. And then we'll be copying the files or the folders, or moving the files or the folders from one location to another location. So these are the day-to-day activities that we do on any file system, correct? And how to give access to these files, how to prevent the access, all those things we'll discuss in the access management. For that, first we need to understand the user management and then access management. I'll talk about that level next. So within a system, within a machine, within one VM, if you want to transfer the data from one folder to another folder, all these actions will be performed. Tomorrow, if you want to copy the same file from one environment to another environment, let's say from one dev environment to QA environment, if you want to promote the code, that will be done with the help of your remote server management, handling the remote server for deployments. So when I ask you the term, what is a deployment? Deployment is just a process of copying the changes from one environment to another environment. Correct. So for all these things, these are the basics like copy and move. So whether you're going to move the entire data from your source machine to the target machine, or you just want to take a copy of it and pasting it there. So it depends upon these two actions. So we'll talk about all these things today. And once you're clear with this, then we'll be getting into the user management, or we'll talk about something on access management first, because last session itself I was talking about the LL command, right? What is LL command? What is LL?
Long list.
Long
Long
listing.
list.
Long listing. So it is used to get the list of files and folders along with its properties. Okay. So how to get the properties of that, everything we'll see today. Hmm? Let me log into my AWS account first. I'm going to start this machine. So as I said already, if you can see this, when the instance are in stop state, you don't find the public IP address here, right? Can you see this? So the public IP will be removed whenever you stop your instance. When you start the instance again, a new public IP will be assigned that you can use it for your connection. Yeah. So now you can find a new public IP address assigned. Take this IP and using mobile term, we are going to connect to this. Right. So before I get into this topic, anyone has any question on previous topics, like if you're unable to understand or anything, any concerns? It's almost 3 days here, right? So did you get chance to practice everything, all of you? or anyone facing any challenges there who are unable to understand the things, or I mean the people who are completely new or from different streams?
No, sir, able to understand.
So whether the class recordings and the class notes are helpful to do things independently?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry?
Yeah, we are able to follow.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So with that,
So this is my first class. Can I get the previous class recordings?
yes, you'll be getting it. Okay, you'll be getting the links from our support team. Don't worry on
Sure.
that.
Okay, sure.
Right. Fine. So now we'll see how to work on your file system. Let me clear the screen and so let's connect or access it as a Ubuntu user or as a root user. That doesn't matter. Okay. So for example, if I want to elevate my access to root level, what is the command? What's the command we can
Sudo
Sudo
use?
minus
Sudo hyphen I.
-I.
Sudo hyphen I. Now, as a root user, if you can see on our last session, we have prepared some directories. So if I want to navigate to the directory, we can use cd, change directory, dir1, right? And in this, we have prepared some files using touch command, echo command, and then vi editor. We have prepared some files here. Similarly, if I want to come back to my previous directory, I can use cd space dot, and if I say ls, I can navigate to another folder by using cd dir2. And I guess this directory is empty, correct? This directory is empty now. So how we can able to work on these directories and file system? That's what we're going to learn here. So first thing is there is a mv command. Okay, there is a move command. mv means move. So using this move command, we can able to rename the file contents. I mean file names. Say for example, mv followed by the file name. So the syntax here is mv followed by the file name space the new file name. That's it. So let the existing file name be file1 and I just want to change it to this name. Similarly, the directory, you can able to change it. Let's say, for example, in my directory of, root directory, I have directory 2. So I can simply say mv dir2 to, okay, sample directory. Okay, see here. So this directory 2 has been renamed to this one. Similarly, if I navigate to directory 1, I can see some files here. If I want to rename any file, just say mv followed by that file name, like file1.txt to uh, mv file1.txt. Simple. So that file1 has been renamed to this one. So like this, we can able to use mv command to quickly rename the folder or a file. This is the first thing. And the second thing is, if you want to delete any file or a folder, okay, so here is a command. So using rm command, we can able to remove the file, correct? And similarly, if you want to remove the directory, you can use rm-r. So what is the need for r means like recursive? When I talk about the directory, it is a collection of some components. It can be having some files or it can be having some subfolders. So when I issue the remove command at the directory level, I want to delete all the components which we have created in that. So if you want to delete only a file, just use rm command. For any directory, you can use -r as a parameter. Sometimes the directory might not get deleted. if the directory is being used by some other process, right? You cannot delete the directory. And in that case, if you want to forcefully remove the directory, you can use F-F. Clear? So there are some small scenarios like if I say rm followed by the file name, let me remove that file one.txt. See this? So this file has been removed. Rm command. Similarly, if I use, let me, so I'll navigate to my previous folder. And if I say rm followed by the sample directory, see what it says? When I simply say rm followed by the folder name, it says cannot remove this directory, this component, because it is a directory. So if you want to verify, you can use ll command and check that sample dir2 is a directory. So if it is a directory, you cannot simply use rm command. Rm command is promptly meant for deleting the files. So if you want to delete a directory, you can use rm-r, or you can use f also if you want to forcefully delete it, sample directory1. So with this command, you can able to remove it. It's removed, right? So that sample directory 2 has been removed from my system. Easy. So that's what I've just documented here. There's a general syntax to delete a file using rm command. And if you want to delete the files based upon the file extension, let's say I have some number of files here, like, right? We have some text files. If you want to remove all the text files, what you can do, you can simply say rm space *text. Similarly, if you want to delete all the war files or Java files or Python components, whatever, if you want, based upon the extension of the file, if you want to remove, you can remove it. You see, so this is what we call it as wildcard symbol. Clear? Using wildcard symbol, we can able to select some number of files, and you can use extension for that very frequently. Correct? So now all the files, text files, has been removed from my directory. So this is about your rm command. Clear? Similarly, there is something called copy, right? There is something called copy or move. So let me show you one example here. Let's create a new file. What are the commands we can use to create a new file? If it is an empty file, we can use the touch command, or if you want to create a record while creating, just use echo. File1.txt. And similarly, let me create another file, file2.txt. So we have prepared two files here. And there is another interesting factor here, okay? Like if I want to add more records to the same file, for example, in my file1.txt, I have inserted one record. If I want to have one more record, I can simply use the new value and I can able to get that file content, right? It's available. Similarly, I can able to add one more record. Correct. So using this echo command itself, we can able to add more records to the existing file. That is because of this particular output symbol. So instead of this, if I use only one character, that is one greater than symbol, see what happened? Noticed? If you use one greater than symbol,
It
it will
got
try
replaced.
to, yeah, it will try to remove all the records from that file and creates that new entry there. You see? So whether you want to add more records to the file or you want to replace all the records with the new content, it is depends upon this greater than symbol, you can control it. It's all very important, scenarios while we use our file system through echo command. Or if you want, you can able to use VA editor. So as a DevOps resource, right? As a DevOps resource, we can able, as a DevOps resource, we'll be promptly using our VA editor for managing the files. Okay, so it is not like echo command or the touch command. Touch command we'll use very frequently. Like if you want to create a dummy file, right? An empty file, you can use touch command. But most of the cases, we never use echo command for maintaining data. So you can use a VA editors for that. Right. Now, let's say, for example, in my directory 1, I have this for 2 files. And let me create one more folder. So here, if you noticed, I have prepared a subfolder here. Within this directory 1, we have directory 2 and file 1 and file 2. And if you want to navigate to the directory 2, cd to directory 2. It's empty. So my requirement is the file whatever I have created in directory 1, I want to copy into this subfolder. It can be within a subfolder or it can be outside that. It's also possible. So for that, first we have to prepare the path of that, like understand the path of the directory. So cd to directory 2 pwd. So this is the path of this directory 2, right? And this is the path of directory 1. In this directory 1, I have this file. So if I use cp followed by that file name. So where I want to paste this, I want to paste in this directory. Just copying means just select using your mouse, just select the content and go to that and right click. It just pastes the content. Don't use Control V if you're using this editor. Control V and all, it can be used in your Windows machine, but here simply select and right click, it will paste the content on the screen. So hope you understand, right? So copy means it always comes with the source file and the destination, the target folder. So syntax is something like this: cp followed by a source file and the target directory. So instead of your copy command, you can use mv command also. Like earlier, we used mv command for renaming the content, file name. But using the same mv command, we can able to move the changes also. Got it? So I'll show you how to use it. So cp and mv both are used to transfer the data from one directory to another directory. Can you see this now? So I've used a cp command, cp file1 from directory 1. So while identifying this file name, I'm not giving the path of the file. Why? Because I'm running this command from the same path where I have the file. Correct? So from the current location itself, I'm trying to access the file and I'm just giving the target location. So with this, if I get into the directory 2, I'm able to see the file present in this directory. And also the file is present in my directory 1 because copy command will not delete the source file. But instead of that, if I use a command like mv, if I use mv command followed by file 2. So what I'm expecting to do here, any guess? What we are trying to do here?
We are moving the file
File 2 is moving the destination.
from
From which path?
directory to.
From current path to destination path.
Yes, that's right. So my expectation is this file 2, once I move it to directory 2, it should be removed from directory 1. Correct? See, that file2 has been removed from directory 1. And if I navigate to that directory, I should be able to see that file2. So it is something like in Windows, we use cut and paste, right? So mv command will cut that file from that source directory and paste it to the target directory. But cp command will copy the file and paste it to the target directory. So that makes a difference. Easy.
Yeah. I have a question. So like if we for the destination target directory, if we give direct directory name with the file name as well, so will it like rename the file and move it? Both of the things will work or not? Hello?
No, what you can do means the target should be always your directory name, not the file name.
Okay.
Clear point. You cannot say like source file followed by the target file name. You cannot give the file name in the target location. It should be just a directory name. There, file get copied, and if you want, you can have one more line to rename the file.
Yeah, got it.
Right. That is about your copy command. Any question?
Actually, I have a question.
Mhm.
You told that we can write a content into a file, right? Can we add
Mm.
multiple lines in a single command?
You can use vEditor for that, not with your echo command and all.
So using the echo command, we cannot write the 2 lines.
Yes. You can use, if you want, you can able to write some script, parse some data, all those things possible. But using vEditor only, we can able to manage multiple content.
Okay.
Okay. So there are some limitations with the echo command. Similarly, there are some limitations with the copy command. So let's say, for example, in our what was the previous question? Previous question, something related to copy command, move command. So copy command is used to copy the file from your source path to the target path. So always your file name should be given in the source and the target should be the directory. But if your intention is to copy the file to the target path and that file should be present with a different name, that was the expectation, right?
Yes.
That you cannot achieve it through copy command. But if you want to make it, because the two set of actions, right? One is it has to copy the content and then it has to rename the file. So that can be done with the help of a move command. So you can specify your source file like input file name and the target directory with a different file name. So that will perform. That's why I told you move command is also used to rename the file or a directory. For an example, consider there are some files here in my directory 1 and in directory 2 there is only one file. Okay, for example now. So my requirement is let me use mv command followed by the file name. Let it be like sample1.txt file. And I want to copy it into the target. mv sample1.txt file and the target is this is the one. This is the target location. Right? And here you can specify the file name like dummy1.txt. See what happened? So that move command has taken the sample file.txt from directory 1 and it has pasted the content. It has copied the file into directory 2 as dummy file1.txt, not sample file1.txt. So clear?
Yeah.
Correct. So for such requirements, we can use a move command, not copy command. Clear? So that's it. These are all things, you know, we do on day-to-day basis. On our daily activities, this will be the thing. Okay. And apart from that, there is something we need to understand, that is how the files are differentiated, how it is organized. So by default, whenever the file is created, right, the file will be used by, owned by the owner of that file. Let's say, for example, I have created all these files as a root user. If I use ll command, it can clearly show you the name of the user who has created the file. So any user will be having the username and the group name. So this is owned by the root user and this is the user group. For example, if I exit from this root user, now I'm currently accessing the system as a Ubuntu user. And if I try to navigate to that folder, root, what it says, permission denied. So Ubuntu user is not having access to this root user's home directory. Correct. But root user can have access to Ubuntu user. Say, for example, if I use sudo -i and cd to the home directory of Ubuntu user, I'm able to access. So root user is considered as an admin user to access it. Correct. Now let me exit from this root user and I use a command sudo cd/root. See, I should not execute this as a root. I mean, Ubuntu user. Let me execute as a root user now. So if I say ll command, the files whatever we have prepared, it is something owned by the owner who has created the file. Tomorrow, as a Ubuntu user, you can create. That's what I'm trying to show here. So let me exit. And as a Ubuntu user, this is the home directory of Ubuntu user. And in this home directory, I can create some files, right? Like this, I can able to create some files. And if you get the ll command here, you can see this file, whatever we have created is something owned by the Ubuntu user. You see, that's what I want to say here. So by default, the person who creates a file will be owning that file. As a Ubuntu user, we have created one file and that file is being owned by the Ubuntu user. And that user can able to read, write, or execute that file. You see? So please keep these statements in mind because this is what we are going to manage with the help of your access, file access and all will be managed through this approach only. So by default, owner will have complete access to that file. If you want, you can even change the ownership later point of time. That's what you're going to learn under the access management. Okay. Now, in order to work with your systems, okay, first let's understand the access management. So I just showed you as a root user, when you create any file or a folder, that Ubuntu user will not have access to that. It means it is limited to that particular user. Even if you can see here in my Windows machine, I just logged into this machine as an administrator. And I have some guest users also having access to this machine. So I won't allow the guest user to access the files that are created by this admin. That is what the user level restrictions we can say. So how to perform the same thing in your Linux machine? For that, first you have to understand the file structure and its access level. So if you want, I can just demonstrate that with our root user itself. Because there we have some files and folders, right? So if you say ll command, the very first 10 characters, right? These 10 characters, it is going to decide the file access mode along with its type. So out of these 10 characters, the very first character denotes whether it is a file or a directory. So which can have just two possible values, either it can be D or hyphen. So if it is a directory, the first character will be denoted with D, otherwise hyphen. Correct. From there, you can able to find three sets of characters. Can you see this? Remaining 9 characters are divided into 3 sets. One is the very first set that is used to decide the user level access. That means the owner, I can say. So here, the very first 3 characters denotes the owner access. That means as the owner of this file, what are all the actions he can able to perform? That will be decided by this first 3 characters from this position. So we have 3 types of access. It can be read access, write access, or execute access. The person who creates a file can able to read, can able to write the content, as well as if it is a shell script or any other script file, he can able to execute that file. So now if you can see here, R, W, and then the X. The first 3 characters are something meant for the owner. Similarly, there is some group of users with same access level. For example, consider I have a developer group, dev group. So I can have all my developers in that group, like dev user 1, user 2, user 3. So all these users will be part of this developer group. And all these users will be having a same level of access, right? So assume that this is the user who has created this file, okay, or a directory. Now, people who are part of this group, what level of access they can have? Whether they also can have a same level of access, or we can able limit the access. That will be decided by the next 3 characters. So here next 3 characters also we can have same read, write, and execute. So this is something at the group level. So it means as a owner, I can prepare this file and I can able to give some access to my group users. So here in this case, if you can see, it is having just read and execute access. That means all my group users can able to read the content. If there are any scripts, they can able to execute the script, but they cannot update it. Update privilege only I can have owner as a owner. Easy. And the last 3 characters that is used to define the access for any public users. Apart from these 3 users, consider I have a test group. There is a test user. Here also we can have some test user 1, 2, and all, right? So these users are considered the public users because they are not part of this user group. So those users can able to read the content and then execute it. They cannot update it. So like this, when you consider the file system, the access can be defined at 3 levels. One is at the owner's level, another thing is at the group user level, and then the general user level, that is public user level. So if you can understand these 3 things properly, it is very easy for you to work on any access levels. Correct? So, and it is always recommended to maintain the users with the group. We never create any individual user in real-time environment. consider I have a developer means I'll just add the developer under a group called developer group. And that is a concept even in Linux also. If you create any user, for that user by default creates one group called user group. Correct. So the terms might be looks bit technical, but it's very easy. Let me quickly summarize this if you want. So let me clear the screen. Where is it? Okay. So we are just talking about the types of files and the user access. Okay. So you can take this example itself. Let me pull these details for you now. Okay. So when you say long listing command, it is going to generate some set of statements, right? So when we talk about the file can have some script, a program, or any automation script or any source code it can have, right? Or it be having some executables, the artifacts, the binaries, correct? So any source code, it is just for, making some code changes. But the executables are something that you can able to deploy to target environment for further execution. So if you want to know the properties of that particular file system, you can use ll command, and which can provide you the various parameters with respect to the type of the object, access levels, who's owning that file, which user group it belongs to, what is the size, and when it is created along the timestamp, and how frequently used it, right? So all these parameters are captured with the help of the long listing command. Now, the first 10 characters, we need to be very clear. Listen, please. So you can see the first 10 characters here. Out of these 10 characters, the very first character denotes the object type, whether it is a directory or a file. And these are the two possible values. As I said, it can have either D or hyphen. Clear with this, right? First character. And the next three characters from that position, that is from second, third, and fourth position, denotes the owner level access. And it can have possible values like read, write, or execute, RWX. So when you specify read, the data can be just read by the user. That's all. We cannot make any changes there. The file will be always open and read-only mode. Only if you have write access, you can able to write the content. It means you can, using VA editor, you can read the content. And if you have execute privilege, you can able to execute it. Similarly, the next three set of characters denotes the group level access. That means the owner belongs to which group, right? So that group uses what they can do with the file, whether they can read, write, or execute. That is decided by the next three characters. And the last three characters in the list, that is meant for the general public users. Apart from the root user, apart from the group users, overall part of the team at the enterprise level, what they can do with it. That is decided by the last three characters. So any question on this?
No.
Hope I'm clear with this, right? So as I
Yes.
said already, whenever we create any user in Linux environment, automatically it creates one user group. Okay. And it is always recommended to maintain the users with the help of the user group. That is very much essential. So we have a concept called RBAC, that is role-based access control. RBAC means role-based access control. So what does this role-based access control means? The access whatever I'm going to provide to a particular resource that is purely based upon the role of that user. Consider I have a file, and if the file is meant for the development team, means only the developers can able to access the file. So here the developer is one role. Or if the file should be used only by the testing team, means I can say tester. Tester is another role. Like that, there'll be some files that can be accessed only by the managers, only by the administrators. So the administrators, managers, developers, testers, all these things are considered as a role of that user. So based upon their role, we can able to assign some access. That is what your first three characters is going to decide. Easy? Any question on this? Now, the next important thing is how we can able to assign access. Let's say by default, when you create a file, there's a default access provided to the file or directory. For example, if I create any file here, for this particular file, there's a default access. Okay. So the default access for any directory is the owner can have a complete access with read write, as well as you can find X here. That is the only difference. Why? Because the directory can have some executables also, right? So by default, owner can able to execute it. And if the file is something handled by the group user, means as a group user, they can read and execute the file, and other general public user can able to read and execute the file. If the file type is text, it is just a text file, a flat file. It is not an executable script actually. So such files can be read or rewritable by the owner, or it can be readable by other users. Similarly, if I create any other file, let's say I want to create a script file. So in Linux environment, the shell scripts can be created with this extension. .sh denotes shell script. Can you see this now? So this script file, whatever we prepared for the script file also, you can able to see this is the access level. So whatever the type of file you create in your Linux environment, by default, the owner will have read and write access, and group users can have only read access, and other general users can have read access. Even as the owner, I cannot execute the file by default. That's what it means. Correct? Now, how I can able to assign access to this user? That is what we're going to discuss in the access management. So there is a concept called access management. So here we'll be understanding how we can able to assign access to any user or to any file. So it's a huge topic actually, because access means it can be done at two levels, right? Either I can able to give access to the files or directories, right? Or I can able to give access to the users. Okay. Especially while handling remote servers. Got it? So this user level access or user access for handling remote servers we'll discuss in the next topic. It is not part of this particular scenario. So we have a separate process called remote server management. So there I'll show you how to give access to a user to access any remote servers. But here we are going to discuss about the access management only on the file perspective, like how we can able to provide access to a file. It can be read access or execute access or update access. Easy. So before that, am I making things clear to all, or is there any confusions?
Yes.
We're just
Yeah.
discussing about the access level, and I just showed you what are the various methods to access the files and what is RBAC and how this access assigned by default. That's what we discuss now. So now we are going to make some changes on this default access level. Let's say I need a execute privilege. How can I achieve that? That is done by this file level access. Okay. So in order to work on this, you need to work on your user management first. Got it? Under user management, we'll be learning about this separately, but for now, we'll use this method. So in general, in your Windows machine, have you created any files and made that file as a read-only file? In general. Hmm? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. In Windows, it's very simple and straightforward, right? Just right-click the file name and go to the file's properties and change it to read-only.
Read-only.
That's all. But here, the same actions can be performed with the chmod command. Okay. So there is a command called chmod. So using the chmod command, we can able to set the access level for the files or directories. And there are various possible values to this. Okay, the three characters, whatever we're seeing here, based upon that, we can able to control it. So here we use something called a chmod calculator. Okay, people who are already working on Linux, they must be aware of this term, chmod calculator. So it depends. It depends upon the various access mode we can able to use this. So when it comes to your access management, we have to be very clear with the access mode. There are three things here: read, write, and execute. And this is what we're going to control using this chmod command. Got it? Say for an example, if I get into this particular file system, I have created one file called test1.sh. Now I'm going to change the access mode of the chmod. Mod actually, it is now chmod followed by the value like 777. I'm just giving you one example, followed by the file name. And now if I say ll command, see what happened. The file, whatever we have created, at the time of creation, it was having this level of access. That means owner can able to read and write. Other users, they can able to just read the file content, that's all. But now when I apply the chmod, the property of the file has been changed now. It means I have given a complete access to the file. As a owner, I can able to read, write, and execute. All my group users can able to read, write, and execute, as well as any general user apart from root user. Even a Ubuntu user can able to read, write, and execute this file. So this is providing a complete access to the file 777. But in real-time environment, we never encourage this option because it is something like, against the security policy. We should not allow a complete access to any public general users. If it is a closed group, that is fine. All developers can able to edit means that's fine, okay. But you should not give a complete access to any general users or accessing the machine. But using this option, we can able to make it. So how this 7 gives a complete access, that is what we're going to learn now. All right, so that can be easily understandable with the help of some calculator like chmod calculator. So let me show you that with an example. So not sure how many of you are aware of this link. Yeah, it's loading. So the main agenda here is we are going to use some chmod calculator to calculate the access mode and use it in our command. There are a lot of sources available to work on it. Okay, so just for an example, if you look into this scenario here, this is just another tool. If you want, you can use this tool. I think that is not accessible, so you can refer to this one. Anything is available here. So if you look into this scenario here, listen carefully. So as I said already, in a Linux environment, the ownership can be at the person who creates as a file or the group users or the public users. And now, what are the actions we can do to perform on it? Okay, that will be decided by these 3 parameters: read, write, or execute at each and every level. So if I say read access, see, as soon as I click on this read at the owner level, the value becomes 400. And the symbolic representation is read. If I want to give a complete access to the owner alone, you can see it is 700. So as a owner, you can able to read, write, or execute. Correct? So that's what the very first character 7 comes into picture. And similarly, as a group user, if I want to give them complete access means, then again it is 7. If I use just read means, it will be 740, or if it is 760, depends upon recording able to change it. Similarly, if I give complete access to my general user, again, I can choose all those things. So this is how the chmod calculator is used to assign the access to the file. So in general, what we do, we never give write access to any group users or public users. I don't want my group users to edit my file, but they can have access to read. They can read the file content. They can able to execute the file. So for that, I can use 755. This is something we frequently use. For example, for the same file, if I use 755, see, as a owner, I can have complete access, and other users can just read and execute the content. They cannot write or make any changes there. Similarly, sometimes what happens, we can give some execute privilege alone to other users. I'm not interested to expose the source code or the script which I've written. Okay. So my group users and the public users If they want, they can simply execute the file. They can't edit or read the file content. So for such requirement, you can use 711. You see? So this is the way we can able to control the access of the particular file in your Linux file system. Any question on this? If you want, I can ping you this link. You can have a glance. I mean, why I'm using such tools means people who are completely new, right? Freshers, you can quickly understand this by using this calculator. But once you start using it, right, over the period of time, it automatically comes like what are the possible values you can able to specify everything. Clear? Any question? Any question here?
No.
So it's very simple. For execute, it assigns a value 1. And for write, it assigns a value 2. And for read, it is 4. So when you say all access, the sum of all these things is 7. That is how it just, uh, manages the content. So it's very simple. On that, if you remember these 3 things, what is the default value for each and every access? If you remember this, it's very easy to set up your CH mode even without referring this calculator. Simple. Just try it out, okay? It all comes by practice. Hope I made things clear to all. If you want, I
Yes,
can
yes.
put the chat link in this class note itself for your future reference. Okay. So use that link, or you can just Google it. Okay. There are a lot of tools available online to search it. And even organizations, they'll be having their own in-house tools. They prepare a script and it'll be shared with the developer, because in real-time environment, we are not supposed to directly access through internet, right? So they'll be having some tools that is running on the intranet that also works on the same process. Easy. So what does chmod 600 denotes?
Read, right.
Yes. So 4, 2, right?
Yes. Well, also, I have a question regarding this deletion of the files or directories. Can we restore the file or directory that is removed using rm or rmrs minus r? I mean Python.
Possible. It's all possible once we start
Okay.
utilizing it. Yeah. There are a lot of scenarios we can use it.
Okay, it will come in future, but you will explain.
Yeah. No, not
Okay.
required. You will get to know all those things one by one. Okay. Usually while learning Linux, right, we never talk about the file restoration. Okay. It is all on demand. If it is critically required, they can able to do. Why? Because Linux is something, a command line utility. People who are working on Linux machines, right, they are as like an administrator. So they should be very cautious while handling the things. So we always talk about the best practices which has to be followed while managing the files. So whenever you try to take a copy of a file, you can simply copy to the target location. If that file is replaced by the new file, then how you can able to restore it? What is the best practice there? So it is always take a backup of the file and take a copy. Say for example, let's say I have a folder, and in this folder, I have created a file 1.txt with this version 1.0. Version 1.0 means I have just create this file and make some changes. And with these changes, I just copied into my test directory. Okay, from my source directory, I just copied into my test directory. Now I can create another version of the file, right, in my dev environment.
Mm.
It's possible, no?
Yes, yes.
So like this, developers are allowed to create any number of versions on their dev environment. And when they try to publish the new version of this file to the same target folder, what will happen? The file which you
Okay.
already kept here, it will be replaced with the new one, correct?
Mm.
So how we are going to manage this? It is not just for the Linux. Even if you are talking about any Ansible based automated no configuration management or any automated deployment also, this approach is required. So we never directly copy the file and replace the target. We always take a backup of it as a best practice. We'll be creating a snapshot versions of the file and preserving it. That is what the best practice we do. It is not like you lost your file and you're trying to restore it. It is not a best practice we follow. So we never encourage the users to talk about the file restoration. Correct. So as a user, they should always have a backup of the file what they're going to make change. Easy.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is the reason we have a lot of artifact libraries and separate, uh, backup path or backup directories available. They can make use of it.
Okay.
So this is all about the file and directory. So you should know how to create a file using echo command and how to know access the files, how to delete, rename, copy the content, and understand the various access mode of a file, and then how to change the access mode by using chmod command. Easy? Any question? Any question to anyone? People, if you're thinking that I'm going very fast, able to understand this?
Yes.
In here, only one common voice. How about
Uh,
others?
Yes, yeah.
Online, right?
Yeah, we are able to understand.
Okay.
so, looks I have a question for that one. So you have told just like that means we need to copy that file in this current directory to change directory. Okay. So we can copy the file from the root user to remote user. Means,
Mhm. Yeah, it's possible.
uh,
That is what the next level, right? We are going to discuss
mm,
about. So
okay.
handling remote server. So it means today, if you are seen here, I just copy the file from one directory to another directory within the same machine, right? In the upcoming sessions, I'll show you how to copy the file from one server to another server, from one root user to another root users or any general user.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. For that, the access level, everything is completely different. For first, let's learn about the user management. Then I'll show you that example.
Okay.
Easy?
One
Yeah.
question I want.
Yeah.
In case of move or copy, in both the cases, when we are moving or copying a file from location A to location B, source to destination, the file will exist in source also, right? That will not be get deleted or cut paste. That is not going to happen,
When
right?
you use copy, the file will exist in the source location.
Hmm.
If you use MV, it will be removed from the source location.
Okay.
So you can easily remember CP means it is like a copy and paste. CP command, what we used here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The CP command, it is like copy and paste. But the MV command, it is like cut and paste,
Okay. Done.
right?
Got it.
Sorry. Okay, fine. So next we'll talk about the user management, because based upon this user management only we can able to learn the remote server management. So now we'll see what is user management, what are the different types of users we can have, and how Linux can consider the credentials or access level to the users. Okay, and we'll see how to create the user and all the stuff. We'll see one by one. And before that, are we good to proceed, or you want to have a quick break and come back? Yeah, you can give admin access to Ubuntu user. That's also possible. That is also possible. How to set the admin privilege or additional privilege as like, because one machine can have multiple administrators, right? It is possible, no? We can able to manage it. I'll show you how to do it while working on our user management. Yeah, no problem. Just go have a quick break and come back. Just refresh yourself, and let's proceed with the next level. I think 5 minutes should be fine, right? Yeah, go ahead, please. Guys, I'm here. Okay, people have any questions? I just give you this time to make yourself refresh with the topics what we covered. Okay, just think about it, recollect about it. Okay, stay focused. It's not like you have a break time and you're using your mobile phones. It's not like that. Okay, just stay focused. If you have any questions, you can use this time to discuss. Execute is just a privilege. If there are any scripts, shell scripts, only if you have execute privilege, you can able to run the script. Correct? If it is a text file, it doesn't require any action related to execute and all. Flat file doesn't require such actions. But if it is a shell script, you have to explicitly provide the execute privilege. Okay. So for read write, I told you, right? You can use your parameter 600. Read and write means whenever you give write access, definitely that script file should have execute access. If, correct? Consider I have a script. If I have a read and write privilege to the script, obviously I should have execute privilege. I can't just write the script and leave it without any execution, right? If you want, you can set read and execute without write action. Correct? Yes, that's right. So we can specify the read and write access for any common files, but if it is a shell script, you can say read, write, and execute. Just try all the combinations. Okay, I given you the calculator with all these options. You can try all permutation combinations and make yourself comfortable there. That's the expectation. See? Hope all are there. Shall we continue now?
Yeah.
How to create a text file? It's very simple. No? That's what I did here, right? Don't worry, I'll talk about the shell scripts in some time. We haven't started the topic, okay? It is in the list. I'll talk about the shell scripts, how to create a shell script, how to write your script and all. We'll see one by one while we progress. Today, I just created a file with .sh as the extension. Similarly, when you create a file with .txt, it is a text file. This is how you create text file, right? Saran, what's your question? If you want to unmute line and you can ask directly, no problem.
Loksa,
Can you,
is it mandatory that we have to mention .sh for executable file like shell script?
as a best practice, it is recommended. We have to.
Okay.
Okay, we have then only I can able to differentiate, right? Like I can able to specify. If you want, you can have a flat file and you can able to use some compile options there to run it as a script. That is also possible. Okay, but as a best practice, when you're writing any shell script, just use .sh as a script so that even without any external compiled option, your system can able to recognize it as a shell script file. Correct? It is not mandatory, but it is a best practice we follow to maintain the files like that. Easy?
Got it.
Saran, what's the question? Is that answer your question or like any other questions you have? If you're speaking, I can't hear you. Any one example for shell script, we'll talk about it while we start with that module. Okay, like if you can see the list, we have a separate module for handling working with shell scripting. I'll show you with some examples, right? So if you can see the list of topics, we'll be working on shell scripting separately. Correct. So here the context is to understand the access or ch mode of the file. That is the reason I just use the term shell scripting. So just go with the flow. We'll talk about it. Fine. So the next important topic is about the user management. So here, this is something related to your file access management, we can say. And the next thing is about the user management. This user management is a very important scenario. With this, we can able to access a remote server and transfer data from one server to another server. Or within the server itself, we can able to have multiple users and give access to the users, right? So like this, we can use this option, and this is one of the very core activity we do in Linux. For example, consider I have a Linux server, okay, and consider I am the owner of this server. If you are looking for access, can I give my access to you and allow you to access the machine? No, right? We cannot share our access to others. Instead, we can create a separate access for that user. So how to create such users and what are the various access we can provide to that user, that we'll see now. So when it comes to the user management, first you need to clearly understand what are the various types of user we have. So when you launch your machine, through which user you access your machine?
Local.
Admin,
Sorry,
administrators.
through which user you log into your machine, the machine which you launched.
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. So it means Ubuntu is the default user, which is just to access that server. Once you log into that server as a Ubuntu user, if you want to perform any package related activities, what you did?
Elevated to root.
Yeah, so we have elevator or access to root user. So root user is an admin user who is having complete admin privilege to work on any package managers, right? And the user management. So now we identified two users. One is a Ubuntu user that is a default user, and the root user is an administrative user. But in real-time environment, apart from these two things, we can create our own user also. Like consider I want to access my Linux machine as a DevOps admin user. As a DevOps administrator, I want to access the server, or I want to perform any task in the server. So for such requirements, we can create our own user by using this user profiles. Correct. So when you're trying to create any user, how Linux consider the user connectivity means by using the shell connection, that is SSH. Secure shell connection, the connection will be established. And what are the parameters used to access through shell or SSH?
IP address, public
Host,
address,
Host name.
Mhm.
Host name.
host IP, port,
Okay.
username, password.
Okay.
username, and hostname.
Okay.
And if we have two private key.
Username, hostname, and private key.
What is the difference between the private key and public key? Okay, that is what we can learn now. Listen carefully. So if we can consider this in any Linux machine, we can have a Ubuntu user. I mean, I'm talking about a Ubuntu machine. Default user is Ubuntu. And in any Linux distribution, this is the admin user. And this users. So this DevOps admin, I can consider as a Linux user. Okay, any user I want to create as per my requirement to start my work. For example, tomorrow, if you're working on Jenkins module, you can create one Jenkins user. If you're working on Ansible, you can create one Ansible user. So as a DevOps admin user, I can access that machine to perform some task. You see? Now, once you identify the user, and if you want to establish connection to the user, we'll be using the parameters like the host name, username, and the credential. I already showed you this, right? How we logged into this machine by using the username, host name, and the credential. And in order to use the credential, it can be of any type because SSH supports these 4 types of credentials, which I already shared with you. It can be a password-based authentication, token-based, or a key-based authentication. It can be public or private key and passwordless. So promptly we'll be using the key-based authentication because it is considered as very secure mode of connection establishment. Password means it is a very short password with a limited, number of characters, and it can be easily, handled by anyone. Token also something like that can be generated at runtime. And apart from that, passwordless means it is accessible within the secured or closed network. We can use passwordless. But for handling any remote servers, it is always recommended to use your key-based authentication. Got it? So now we'll see how to create a user in your Ubuntu server and what are the various access we can able to manage. Because when it comes to user management, you should know how to create the user and how to assign privilege to the user. All right. And then how we can able to create some type of credentials, because the credentials, it can be your password or a key or whatever, right? So how to create such credentials, that we'll see now. So let me show you how to create a user here. So in order to create user on your Linux machine, Ubuntu uses a command like user add command. Okay, I'll give you one small syntax here for your reference. Listen carefully. So this is a command we use usually. User add followed by the user ID. User ID which you want to create, just give the ID here. And what you are going to use with this user. This user will be accessing the bash terminal. So -s to show the terminal, and we are going to create the default home directory for that user as a DevOps admin. As I said already, any user we create, that user will be having the default directory, right? So the default home directory for DevOps admin user is DevOps admin. So in other systems like your previous versions like CentOS RHEL, you can simply use a command user add followed by the user ID. That's also fine. But in Ubuntu, okay, we have an option to customize these parameters. Okay, for example, let me get into my machine here. I think I lost the connection. Let me reconnect. So as a root user, I'm going to run a command, user add command, followed by the username like dummy user. Okay, just for an example, I'm saying I'm not using any other parameters, just going to create one user. User has been created. And if I want to access that user, what I can do? I can use su hyphen dummy user one. So when I say su hyphen dummy user one, see, entered into that user, but it cannot access the directory. So this user is not having any default home directory. That is why the cursor is present here. If I say PWD also, see, it is at the very root level. So in your Ubuntu machine, when you simply use user add followed by that user ID, by default, it will not create any home directory for that user, first point. And the second point, it will be having an access to user shell terminal, not the bash terminal. Bash terminal will be more interactive, but shell terminal will be having a very basic shell command you can run. So that is the reason whenever we create any user, we should enable the option to use bash terminal as well as we create the directory. So now let me exit from this user. See, this is what the bash terminal. Bash terminal looks something like this, and the shell terminal will be something like this with just a dollar symbol for tagging. Now, if I execute this command, earlier I used just the username, but now I'm going to create this user by enabling the bash terminal and making the directory called DevOps admin. A new user created. And if you want to log into that user, use a command su-devops admin. See, now from root user, I'm able to log into my DevOps admin user, and currently I'm working as a DevOps admin user now, which is using a bash terminal as like root. And now if I say pwd, there's a home directory created for this DevOps admin user. You see? So it is always recommended to create a home directory and enable the bash terminal to that user. That is the purpose of this command. Any question? Any question on this command? User add followed by user ID, show bash terminal, and then make the directory called DevOps admin as a home directory. Easy? Any question,
Please
guys?
explain it once more.
So in Ubuntu machine, whenever you try to create the user, you can use user add command followed by that user ID. Okay, very basic thing. And for this particular user, if you want to enable the bash mode or bash terminal, we can use -s followed by that bash command. If you're not using the parameter, by default, that user cannot access. Let's say if I exit from this user and if I use dummy user, see, it is not a bash terminal. If I type bash, then only I'm able to access the bash terminal. Can you see this? And it is pointing to the default root directory. This root directory not belongs to this dummy user, right? So every time whenever the user log into the machine, he has to explicitly give a command bash terminal to bash command to run the bash commands, right? So instead of it, what I can do while creating the user itself, I am giving an option called show bash. So when he log into the system as su DevOps admin, automatically it's taking to his bash terminal, and he can able to find the home directory also based upon this parameter. You see? And the home directory name can be anything. It is not mandatory that it should be same as username, but it is a best practice to keep the home directory of the user the same. Clear? Yes means show, MD means make directory. That's all. Whenever the user log into that machine, it should automatically show the bash terminal. That is what showing it here. By using -s, we have to define that. And -m means make directory. If you want, you can give -md. That's not an issue. Bash is just a terminal in Linux. It's a terminal. Like in your Windows, we use your command prompt, right? We have PowerShell. Similarly, here we have a bash terminal. Previously, when we were using Unix OS, we were using a shell terminal. Got it? But all the latest Linux commands can be executed using your bash terminal. So what makes the difference means the shell terminal will be having some limited commands. It will not have any latest versions of your Ubuntu distributions. So all the latest distributions and the features, whatever you are seeing, it can be accessible only through your bash terminal, bin bash. Correct? So that is about creating the Linux user in your Ubuntu machine. Any question on this command or shall I proceed further? It's all our responsibility. Okay, tomorrow, if you are managing our Linux servers for DevOps, you have to manage it. You have to understand this. It's our day-to-day activity usually. Correct. Now, the user has been created. Once user is created, how I can able to set the access, the credentials, because that's what we should do, right? When you create any user, that user should be provided with the credentials. It can be the password or it can be the keys, anything. So how to create the password means just exit here. So as a root user only, I can able to run this user add command. Got it? Now there is a command called passwd command. Passwd password followed by the DevOps admin user ID. That means for this user, I'm going to create a password. Just give a command passwd followed by user ID. It will ask for the new password. Type the password. It is a hidden field, okay? Just type the content. You won't find the content actually. But once you finish typing content, just press enter. It will ask for the confirmation. Type it again. That's it. So now the password has been successfully updated to this user. Easy. So why we need this user means, or password means, whenever you want to switch from one user to another user. In that case, as a root user, you can able to directly switch. But if you try to switch from any other user, it by default expects the password. For example, listen carefully. Currently, I am working as a root user. Now, if I want to navigate or switch to dummy user, I can use su dummy. See, the control has automatically taken me to this dummy user profile. Let me exit from here and let me exit from root user also. Now I am at the very initial Ubuntu user account. As a Ubuntu user, if I use su followed by the user ID, see, it is expecting a password. Why? Because only the root user can allow any user to access login. But Ubuntu user is a general user. Through Ubuntu user, if you want to switch to any user means you have to provide the password of that user here. If you don't have password, just give Control C and come out of the command. Now, as a Ubuntu user, if I say su to DevOps admin user, it is asking for the password. So what I can do, I can enter the password which I created. See, as soon as I enter the password, it allows me to log in. Easy. So usually the password-based authentication can be maintained within the system to switch between the users. Otherwise, you have to switch from the root user only. Is that clear to all or any confusions? So it's very simple. Whenever you try to access your user profile from your machine, you can just provide your password to access. Or as a root user, you can directly access. That's the difference. So here the point is you should know how to create the password. Okay, that is a thing we are learning here. So after creating the user ID, there's a command to create password. And when you run this command, this will be the thing. If you want, I can put this directly here for your reference. So it means as the root user, you're running this password command, and same way as the root user only, you're running this user add command. Create this and then enter your new password and confirm the password. Sometimes, we create the user to some developers, and if the developer forget the password, they will place a request to the administrator, right, to reset the password. So what admin can do, as a root user, they can run this command, passwd command, followed by the user ID. They can create new password and share it. Easy. Am I making things clear to everyone here?
Yes.
Or is there any confusions?
Clear.
All of you.
Yes.
If you're unable to understand or any confusions, please let me know right away. There is no point in telling at the end. All good?
Looks like one thing. If we have to give sudo user right to that DevOps admin, so how we can do that?
That is the next level. Okay,
Okay.
how to give additional privilege to the user, that is next level. As of now, we're creating the user and assigning some password privileges, right? Here we are just talking about the user authentication process. The one which we are going to do using sudo access, that is a authorization process that we'll see in some time later.
And actually, can we say add a password for root?
You can for any user, you can do that. But usually when the access is done, right, we never rely on the password authentication going forward. Most of the cases will be using our key-based authentication. So instead of using password, it is always recommended to use the key-based authentication. So that's what we're going to learn next. So in my system, I just create the DevOps user with a password. Okay. And if I say ls command, I haven't created any files here. And if I say ls-a, what is ls-a? It is going to
Hidden
get me
file.
the
Hidden file.
hidden files as well. So these are the profiles. These are the user configurations and profiles. Environmental data are maintained in this file. That is something managed by the operating system to refer the user. Similarly, if I exit from here, and now as a Ubuntu user, if I give ls-a command, you can see apart from these profiles, right, there is something called .ssh folders available here. Have you noticed? .ssh folder. So if you go to that folder here, it is a hidden folder. You can able to find one authorized keys. Authorized keys means it is a key that is used to enable the user authentication. So if you give a command cat followed by that authorized key command, you can able to see it is nothing but the public key of the user. Remember, while creating the instance, I use a key pair, right?
Yes.
If you remember, while creating that instance, I have used a key pair, something like May20-key pair. So key pair means it is a combination of your public key. This is what I told you here itself. It is a combination of your public key and private key. That is by default. When you create a key pair, it creates a public key and private key. So private key can be shared with the target user and act as a token for authentication. And this, apart from this, there's something called authorized keys. Should be created based on the public key. user. So based on the public key of any user, we'll be creating authorized key, and in real-time environment, this authorized key will be compared with the private key. Login. All right. So the flow of execution is, listen all of you, very important thing, please pay attention all of you here. So when you launch the instance, by default, it creates the user called Ubuntu user. And for that Ubuntu user, it creates a key pair. The key pair, whatever you used, based upon this, it assigns a key pair. Key pair means by default, it will be maintaining the public and private key. And based upon the public key, it has automatically created one authorized key file. And now that authorized keys file, whatever created, it is associated to the home directory of that user. So in the Ubuntu users home directory under SSH folder, that authorized keys file is present. So now whenever you try to log into this particular machine as a Ubuntu user, what you're passing here as input, we are passing the private key, correct? The private key is nothing but the PEM file which is available in a local machine. So to access machine as a Ubuntu user, I'm sharing this key pair. That means I'm sharing the private key. When I submit this, the private key, whatever I have submitted now, it will be compared with the authorized keys file of that user. If that keys matches, it will allow me to log in. I repeat. What do I get? I'm going to log into this machine and I'm going to choose a private key. And here, this is the actual private key. May20-key pair is a private key associated to this instance. Based upon that only, it is having the authorized key file created. But instead of that file, if I give any other file, for an example, see, no support authentication method, refuse connection. Why? Because it is unable to now match the private key which you passed and the authorized key which is present in the machine. So clear? So this is how your key-based authentication is enabled. Am I clear with the process now? What is actually happening, how it is validating users? Similarly, whenever you create any user in this machine, we have created one user called DevOps admin user, right? And this DevOps admin user is not having any key pair at this point of time. We haven't created any keys. So if I want to prepare the key pair for this user, we have to use SSH keygen command. So there is a separate command called SSH keygen, and using the command, we can able to prepare the user. So let me show you that command first. So this is a command. So this is to create SSH keys for DevOps admin user. Right. So this is a command basically SSH-keygen, and the key type is ECDSA. It is a protocol. And then the size of the key 521 bytes. So for Ubuntu 20.04 version or higher, you can use this command. So let me run this command here. Always you should run the command for that particular user. Don't run it as a root user because it is meant for that particular user, right? So as a DevOps user, run this command. And when you execute this command, it is asking for the target location where you want to prepare the key folder, because it has to create a public and private key, right? So it is giving a recommendation to use the home directory of the DevOps user to create this subfolders. If you're okay with this path, just simply press enter. And the latest version, right, along with this key pair, it is also giving some recommendation to create some password phrase. Password phrase means some description about the key. It will be having more value, some unique message you can give for it, some phrases you can give. If you want to give, you can enter the phrase. Otherwise, you can simply press enter and confirm it by giving enter. That's it. So now you can see a key pair has been created. And if I say ls-a, now you can see the .s folder created here. If you navigate to that folder, you should be able to find two components. One is id underscore ecdsa and another thing is id underscore ecdsa.pub. So this is your private key and this is a public key. If you want, you can read the content like cat id underscore ecdsa. So this is a private key of that particular user, and .pub is a public key of the DevOps user. You see? So using this SSH keygen command, we can able to prepare the public key and the private key for any user. Am I clear? Now, how we can able to utilize it for user authentication? For that, we just can't rely on the public key. What we will do means we have to create authorized keys out of it. Why? Because always the private key will be compared with the authorized keys of that user. So how to create the authorized key means it's very simple. It is just a copy of a public key. So using cat command, if you can able to print the value means you can able to copy that file into this one. So as of now, there are two files. I want to create one more file called authorized key file, which is nothing but a copy of my public key. See here. So this authorized key file is created now. Easy. Any question till this? Any question? So the authorized keys, the file name should be exactly same. Authorized underscore keys. It is case sensitive. If there is any mismatch, it won't allow you to log in. So it is always a copy of public key, and always a private key will be compared with the authorized key during the login process. Easy. And one more important thing here is when we create a file, the authorized key file, whatever we created here, if you can see using ll command, this authorized key file, it can be readable by all the users in the machine, right? Root user can able to read that authorized key. Even the Ubuntu user can able to read that authorized key, right? Yes or no? That's what the default thing here, right? But if you're talking about a secure key, it should not be exposed to others, right? If you can see here, the private key, whatever was created earlier, it is something owned only by the owner. Like this, your entire SS folder should be protected. So how to protect this file and the folder? I just want to give only read-write access to the owner. No other user should be able to access it. So how can we change it now? Which command is used to
mode,
change the access mode?
ch
Yes. So what you can do means
600.
you can able to use your chmod command. So there is a command option with chmod. What is the value you can give there? I want to give
600.
read-write access to my owner. That's it. So remember, This is what I was showing you earlier. So chmod 600 followed by the directory name. What it mean? 600 means only the owner can able to have read and write access. So same thing you can able to implement for your SSH directory. So chmod 600 followed by the user's home directory. So if you run this command, let's say ll, see, I just change all my secrets, public key, private key, everything will be changed to the protected level now. Easy? Any question? So this is how we prepare the user for access. Correct?
Yes.
So it is very much important to understand this process, because in real-time environment tomorrow, while working on multiple servers, like while working on Jenkins, you'll be handling with remote servers, multiple servers has to be configured. Similarly for Ansible, Kubernetes, Docker. So while working on any Linux machine, you should know how to create the user and how to create the secure SSH keys for that user. It is not just about creating the key pair. After creating key pair, you should properly create the authorized key and should be protected. That is another important thing. Even if you're not running this command, the key is invalid. Linux will never, let's say you created the authorized key, and if the authorized key is being accessed by other user, means Linux will never consider as authorized key. It should be protected, restricted within the user. You see? So I'll stop with this for now. In tomorrow's session, we'll see how to delete the user and how to add more properties to this and how to log into the user using this key pair and all. We have a lot of things under the user management and the access management. I'll want to handle both things together in the next session. Right? And then access management and remote server management. Okay, we'll see those things. So all closely related to each other. And then we'll be moving into the shell scripting. Easy. Any question? Please let me know now. Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
No.
Okay, so I'll update the document here. You close, I mean, your training document, right? I hope you all have access to this link. I'll get in the Linux folder and I'm updating the class notes for today's session. And if you want, I can share the history of this command as well. Right? But all these things are already available in class notes. Okay, don't rely on the history. It is just for your quick reference. That's all I can say. But don't completely rely on that history, because there might be some sequential mismatch will be there. Okay. And yeah.
Please provide the history of root user also.
Yeah, that is what. So this is the next level. So like this, what are all the commands we exit so far? You can able to find those details here. Starting from the file creation, deletion, and how we prepared the created the user, right? All good. Any other question? Fine.
No.
So let me open the poll. Please respond there. And tomorrow we'll connect for the remaining topics. Please spend some time before you join tomorrow's session. Please go through the class notes once, because tomorrow it will be like a continuation only, right? So please go through the class notes and recordings so it will be easy for you to understand the next topic. Fine. Yeah. If you don't have any other question, then we'll close this call. We'll connect tomorrow. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep. Niti, right? No, we don't have any groups as such. You'll be getting access to your to uh, the class recordings, and I'll be sending this link also. This is a source code repository which we have prepared for this training. So let me ping you this link. You can use this link for your class reference. Hope you received it, Nai?
Yes, how do we access this repository since this is my day for first class actually?
I pinged you on link now, right? Can you see that link?
Just wait.
Hmm? Yeah. Hope you received it. So can you able to access the link now?
Yeah.
Okay, just use this link where you can find the class notes from day one, DevOps introduction, and AWS folders there to create an account. And also you'll be getting the class recordings. Okay, so I strongly recommend please go to the class recordings on session wise. Definitely you can able to understand things. If you're unable to understand, let me know in the next session. Hmm?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you all.
Uh, Hi, Lokshay. Just a quick question. Are you around?
Yep.
Okay. So I have enrolled for this batch, which is supposed to start from today, and I see that, like, I just went through that GitHub page, and it said that it started from 27th, as you gave introduction about DevOps and all, right? So, like, how is this going? Like, I'm a little confused already
Yeah, we
because,
just completed the introduction to DevOps, and we are in the Linux module today.
uh-huh.
So all the class recordings and the uh, class notes
Okay. So, like,
is
have
available.
they
It's just a
clubbed?
four sessions actually completed.
No, because when I visited the website, right, like there were two batches. One was supposed to start at 30th of January, and the other one was around 3rd of February, right? So have they clubbed these two batches or what?
Uh,
Like,
you can check with the team actually. They'll be putting more details on that. Okay.
all right,
But
okay,
this
understood.
morning batch we started last Monday. That
Okay,
is on
so this is
27th.
going to be throughout a morning batch, is it?
No, this is still this weekend. It'll be morning, and from next week onwards, it'll be like a
8 to 10.
yes, in the evenings.
All right, understood. Okay, so about the training videos and all, which for the past
Yeah,
4 days, like they
you'll
will
be
provide us,
yeah,
or
you'll be getting it through email. You'll be getting those details from our team.
sure. Thank you, Laksai.
Yep. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions? All right, thank you.